Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Care Conversations with Crystal. This is our opportunity to highlight services in the elder and special needs space and hoping to educate our viewers in services that are available when we are trying to care for our loved ones. I am so excited to have Adrian Allotey here with us today. Adrian is an End of Life Doula, something that I just recently learned about, and I'm so excited to share her with you all. And hopefully we can all learn a little bit of something today about her services and what she provides. So Adrian, how you doing?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me, Crystal. Thank you for bringing this non-medical awareness to End of Life. And so thank you.
So what is an End of Life Doula?
So we are non-medical professionals that specialize in holistic support. So we're looking at the emotional, mental, and spiritual needs of a person who has an advanced stage illness. And we don't only cater to that person, we also look at their family. And so what I would like to say is that we prepare people for their last breath, we hold their hand through it, and then we help those that they leave behind to create a new normal. And so it's absolutely that emotional, mental, and spiritual affects that physical body. And so I really key in on those areas and let the medical team handle the physical part of it.
And when you say medical team, is that primarily like a hospice team?
Yeah, I always tell my clients, you got to get hospice in here because hospice does the medical part.
So for a lot of families, I think there's often this concern about hospice, right? When people hear the term hospice, they think that it means mom or dad, friend, cousin, whomever is on their way throughout the death process, and that it's only a matter of time. But I know that people can be on and off hospice throughout the course of a number of years, oftentimes. And there are services that hospice provides that people don't even really realize. But for you, it's more on the holistic side of care, right?
Absolutely. Again, we're looking at how can we bring education, care, and support. We're very similar to hospice. So hospice will do some of that, but hospice, I'm glad that you mentioned first that you can be on hospice longer than the last couple hours or days or even weeks. And so my first client was actually on hospice for over a year. And so I'm glad that you brought that point up. But we bring, care, support, and education to the end of life. We are there to let people know that death is a natural process, just like coming into the world. It's a natural process. It's not a medical one. It is more of a human one. And so we support that. We support people's wishes. I make sure that they are in contact with you, an attorney like yourself, to make sure that their advanced care planning is in effect. But I also look at things as far as I create a plan for people and help guide them through, especially as their final moments, hours, weeks of life. Like, what do they want to see happen? What is the environment? What is that sacred environment that they want to, experience their last breath in? And then I help support that.
So one of the things that has come up recently, and it came up for a client who wanted some pretty special funeral instructions, right, of who was going to be surrounding them after death, who was going to have that type of direct access to them. Do you see families trying to decide who's going to be around during those last final days?
Absolutely. And not only if they don't know that that's a possibility, one of the things I walk in and I tell people from the very beginning, when the person takes their last breath, first of all, I educate them that the body is still breaking down. So there is still movement in that body. They do not have to be whisked away. You can spend time with that body. And so you may want to create a ritual. If people have religious beliefs, we can cater to those as well. But if they don't, I can share some poems. I can just create that atmosphere that we continue to honor that person. We're in, or we're almost in, or we're about to jump into a very death positive awareness movement. And people are doing exactly that. They're realizing that they have rights that they didn't realize that they had at one point. You know, like you're not stuck in the hospital. People are coming more at home. Now they're just bringing that support system into the house. And then,
COVID, and COVID really did that,
yeah,
right? I mean, it really made us think about how we wanted to live our days, and not just for us, but for our loved ones. People would think, you know, if mom or dad starts failing, of course they're going to have to go to a long-term care facility. I can't care for them at home. We can't get around the clock care. But then we saw, especially March, April, May, June of 2020, families were twisting their arms, doing anything humanly possible to get their loved ones back in the home setting for it to be as comfortable as possible.
and for them to be there, right? And so, yeah, those were some tough days, but thank God we see the light at the end of the tunnel with that.
Now, are there any direct care services that you provide? Like if someone wanted to be washed a certain way or wanted their hair done a certain way, do you help them in facilitating that? Because that's not really something hospice will, you know, assist in some ways with services, but that's a bit more of a personal touch. Do you assist with that as well?
So one of the things that the state of New Jersey, the law says is that once a person takes their last breath, I can no longer get paid to provide those services. That body now belongs to the next of kin in the funeral home. I'm not a funeral director, but what I can do is we can plan for that prior and support them in maybe a volunteer role. But it's really the responsibility of the next of kin to do those type of things. And so if you educate and make them aware and even practice those things, they should be able to handle it at the point where the person has taken their last breath. But you know, each family is so unique. You know, there's some, you know, I offer a plethora of services, but people get to choose what they want to do and not do. And so, you know, some people want me there during the active dying phase. Sometimes I might find that the family's exhausted, right? Go take a nap. I will keep watch. And if anything changes, I will make sure that I notify you. One of my greatest things is that when people see my clients, I do not want them to see the disease first. And so we do a life review. We constantly talk about who that person was, is, what impacts have they made, what roles have they, you know, just their whole life, because people are amazing. Like we all have a journey and a story. And that's what I want people to see when they enter the room. And then maybe the disease next. Like we have to be aware that there is a disease, but we're human beings. And you know, along the lines of that, with this death positive moment that we're in, that people are now like wanting to write their own eulogies, their own programs. And so, you know, we do that if that's what they feel comfortable doing. And then, you know, maybe you want to give those special things away before you pass that ring. Or maybe you want to have cards that are delivered to your grandchildren, you know, once a year on their birthdays. So there's so much that you can do and just make people aware of. And so usually what happens with advanced stage illness, people stop showing up. They don't know what to say or do. And so I just give them the coping skills to be able to show up where the person who is passing doesn't feel like a burden, but feels that just that unconditional love from their loved ones. And so it really is some amazing work.
So based on that, though, that's a perfect segue to my last question, which is, at what point should someone think to engage you? Are there things to look out for or triggers where you know it's a good time to pick up the phone and call you?
Yeah, so absolutely. When you start to see a decline in a person, and especially when there's an advanced stage illness, you know, when people get that diagnosis, it's like the rug is swept from under them. So they feel like such out of control. So there are some things that I can do immediately when they realize that there is a decline to give them back a sense of control, which really makes all the difference. And so there are multiple stages to end of life. So you have that, there's a decline, people are getting worried and concerned, all the way to, you know, that advanced, you know, the active dying phase. And then in the middle, after you stabilize things, that's when you get to have the fun and do the fun things. And so because I truly believe that each moment from birth to death is equally valuable. And the last thing we want to do is die with a regret. I actually will companion a person. And so if there's something that they want to do that they can no longer do, I create a plan for them to get those things done. So for example, I had a client with advanced stage dementia. Most people would just have her sitting somewhere, maybe talking some. Well, I happen to know that she was always a gardener. So I found the community garden. And, I have insurance to drive people, so we would go and we would garden a couple times a week. Now, she didn't always get in the dirt, but she would tell me what to do. And this person with advanced stage dementia could identify not only what was in our garden, but what was in the garden of the other peoples in the community. Now, is that quality of life or what?
Definitely, definitely. And pulling into what she valued when she had full capacity so that the last days could be as full as possible.
Absolutely.
Which is ideal. And you used the term, was it positive? Say it again, positive death?
The positive death movement.
So the positive death movement, I chuckled when you said that, because just in my own family, I had a sit down with my dad, right? And said, you had accolades when you were in the military that I don't know. And if you want anybody to know about what it was that happened to you when we're telling your story, I need you to write it down right now. And that was a little, you trying to plan my funeral, child? What are you doing? But no, it was, we want to make sure that ultimately we can celebrate you while you're here and while you're gone. So tell me your story so that we can make sure that it lives on beyond you.
Yeah, and that's important because your children will want to know that, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
Yep.
and their children will want to know it. Yeah, so you have to put in writing. Some people are now recording their life stories, but even just if you talk about it, and that's one of the, everybody has a phenomenal life. But let me tell you, our military people, they won't ever tell it all, but their stories are just like mind blowing.
That's right.
Yeah.
They gave the greatest service, right? And we can't say thank you enough. And I'm saying that from my hometown of Fayetteville, North Carolina, home of the 82nd Airborne Division, for those who are wondering. So for our veterans and our spouses of veterans who served just as long as our veterans did, we thank you for your service. Adrian, I'm so glad that you were able to join today. I sincerely appreciate your time. How do people find you?
So the name of my company is called You Are Not Alone Elder Care. So that's pretty long. I named it that because I kept telling people in all roles, like the children, the adult children, you're not alone. Like there's so many people going through this. So You Are Not Alone Elder Care. My website is, I use the acronym YANAEC. So You Are Not Alone Elder Care. And then on every social media, right? You got to be on everyone. My handle is YANAEC, but then I add the LLC because the other one was already taken. So YANAEC LLC on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, you name it, I'm out there.
Awesome. Awesome. And of course, I'm Crystal Edwards. You can find me at porzioplanning.com with the handle #PorzioPlanning or @PorzioPlanning for any of those social media platforms that Adrian just mentioned. Thank you so much again, Adrian. We'll make sure that your contact info is out there for everyone to see. And did you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I just want to say, make sure they call you first, because if you do not take the time to say what you want when you can no longer say it for yourself and designate a person, it makes everyone else's job more difficult.
That's right. That's right. And so we're here to make sure that you have your planning in place. And with that, see you next time.